Hi guys, can you see me and hear me clearly?
Yes, hello, ma'am.
Hi. All right, let's begin today's session. Keep your back and neck straight. Gently close your eyes. Sit in any comfortable posture. Slowly begin to observe your breath. Watch the natural flow of your breathing. Slowly shift your attention to your body. Check the alignment of your body. Gently come back to your breathing. Begin to deepen the breath. Stepping into the practice of Puraka and Rechaka. Relax your mind. Prepare yourself for chanting Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis. Take a deep inhalation for Om. 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 Shanti. Shanti. Observe the vibrations. Turn your palms together and begin to rub your palms together. Keep your palms on your eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes and come back with a big smile. Namaste. So today again, we are going to do one more free practice for pranayama. Okay, and this is quite a famous practice. So like Nari Shodhana, that's very famous. And that same way, Kapalbhati. This is also a very, very famous practice. Most people go for this practice. So if you have ever been connected to yoga in any form, you would have heard of this name and even would have practiced this technique. So modern yogis, so as the time changed, this by like modern yogis propagated as a practice of pranayama. But actually, if you look at the Hatha Yogic texts, this is a practice of Shat Karma. Shatkarma. Shat Karma. Shat is 6 and Karma is practices. So 6 cleansing practices. So out of all the 6 practices, one of them is Kapalbhati. And yes, by modern yogis, you will generally see they say Kapalbhati Pranayama. But if you go back to the roots, you will only find Kapalbhati is written. So that's the full name of the practice. There is no pranayama attached to that. And this practice is actually again used to cleanse, especially this area. So there is cleansing of the forehead region by this practice. And then one goes for the practice of pranayama. So Kapal means forehead. Okay, and Bhati means light or knowledge. So this practice, as you can see from the name itself, this practice brings about clarity, clarity in this area. So cleansing of this area, so clarity of mind, right? This practice is also known by the name of Kapal Shodhana. Kapal, Kapal Shodhana. Shodhana. Like you guys already know, Shodhana means to cleanse or to purify the. So again, it's meaning the same thing, the cleansing of the forehead region. Right? So I'll tell you the technique, all things that you have to follow. So Kapalbhati is a practice which cannot be done by everyone. Okay. So first thing is the posture. So you are in sitting posture when you do Kapalbhati, where your back and neck remain straight. And in Kapalbhati, there is extra attention has to be given to the lower back, because when you do this technique, then a lot of people end up with back pain after doing that technique. It's because their lower back isn't like aligned properly when they are doing the technique. Okay, so special attention has to be given to the lower back. This technique, I'll just show you a few methods which will allow you to keep the back straight. So when you go for this practice, basically you know you can place your hands like palms facing downwards on the knees. Okay, so a very common way of doing this practice in order to keep the lower back straight is to place both the palms on the knees, bend a little bit forward, and place this pressure on the knees, right? So if you can keep your elbows straight, you can go ahead and do that, or you can simply, place the palms forward, and you can, because you will, like when you have to keep the palms in this way, you will bend slightly forward. So this will make sure that the lower back, it remains straight throughout your practice, right? If you're confident, you can go for maybe lotus pose. Lotus pose is a very good posture to adopt when you go for Kapalbhati's practice, because the body gets locked. And again, as I told you before also, when you do the lotus pose, it's very difficult to form a hunch on your spine, right? So lotus pose is the most preferable pose for this practice, because when one does this practice, there is some movement that is experienced in the body, right? Because of the force that you apply. So again, lotus pose will allow you to keep the body stable. So for those of you who are not confident, if your lower back remains straight, you can go ahead and place your palms facing downwards. Hands are ideally straight only. So elbows remain straight. And then I shift a little bit forward. So this will ensure that lower back remains straight throughout my practice, okay? Without any effort, right? Because if you are, if the posture is not perfected, right, then it might happen that when you are practicing, there would be a hunch in the lower. So without, you want to just ensure that lower back remains straight without any effort. You, in the beginning, you can go ahead and practice in this way. Okay. Right. So Kapalbhati practice is a very easy practice. All you have to do is, you are going to, generally in our life, we when we inhale, the inhalation is conscious, and the exhalation, it just happens. So we consciously inhale, right? But exhalation remains passive. In Kapalbhati, we reverse this process. Okay, we exhale like actively and inhale passively. So inhalation is like the body is inhaling as a result of the active exhalation. So there is no effort that you put in when you exhale. For Kapalbhati, you have to make sure that your stomach is empty, because extreme abdominal pressure applied during this practice. So you have to time that your stomach is empty, and if you are planning to do it in the evening, at least 3 to 4 hours of gap after your meal, right? So this much gap should be given. Okay. All right. So like I told you, the exhalation is active and inhalation is passive. So what happens is, a lot of people, what they do is, they try to speed up the process basically. So if I demonstrate, suppose I will demonstrate, so I will do it a little bit fast, because I have been practicing for a while. So all the people who demonstrate, they do it fast. So the learners also, they also go for fast strokes, right? But actually this should be given time. Okay, so you can go for slower strokes. Your main goal should be, when you are doing Kapalbhati, one thing, the intensity of the strokes, it remains the same. So if I'm taking my first stroke, right, and I'm applying a lot of pressure, then till my last stroke, it should remain the same amount of pressure, right? If I am in the beginning going for strokes which are more forceful, by the end, you will generally see people who practice like this, by the end the strokes don't remain that forceful, right? So from the beginning only, choose the um, pressure with which you can apply the stroke. Okay, the consistency and uniformity needs to be maintained. All right. Second thing, uh, the gap should also remain equal. So when the when you are unable to decide what is the correct way of doing doing this practice for you, then you will see by the end, the time between the strokes, it increases, right? Initially you will go very fast, right? But eventually what will happen, this time will begin to increase. Again, you have to avoid this thing. You have to make sure that all of them are equally gapped, right? When people do Kapalbhati, another thing that happens is, they either take up a lot of pressure on their shoulders, or their body starts to move. Again, this has to be avoided, right? The face takes a lot of pressure, right? So what happens is when one does Kapalbhati, so they like sometimes a lot of students, what they try to do, they try to like when they do the exhalation, because they want to do it more properly, they apply pressure on their face, and they especially apply pressure in the nostril area so that the air is expelled out. But you need to understand that the air is being expelled out as a result of the stroke that you have taken through your abdomen, right? So this area has no role in the exhalation, right? All the pressure is coming from here. It's like you are breathing from your lungs, right? So generally, when you are breathing, inhaling and exhaling, there is no pressure that you see on the face, right? So in that same way, when you perform Kapalbhati, there is no pressure that needs to be applied over here. All the pressure that is required to expel out the air, it is coming from the abdominal region, right? So this is another mistake that a lot of students face, which causes a lot of creases also on the forehead, right? So in this case, ask your students to relax and find a stroke which is comfortable for them. So there are three different levels of strokes. One is slow, so you can go at a very slow pace, right? One stroke in 1 second, basically. So if you exhale, I'll demonstrate them to you, right? So then there is, you can increase the frequency a little bit if you feel your level is a little bit higher. And then the advanced level practitioner, they go for a lot of strokes, right? Per minute number of strokes is very high, right? So don't just blindly start doing Kapalbhati, right? Because this practice again has a lot of impact on the body and immediate impacts that you will see, right? So lower back is one main thing, and then strokes, and then the relaxation of the body, stability and relaxation of the body. These 3 points have to be kept in mind when you go for this practice. Okay, so I'll just demonstrate one time to you guys how this practice is done. So generally, before you introduce this practice, you can ask your students to take, like, guide your students through. Like I generally, when I give the guidance, I go for 2 breaths before you begin the practice. Okay, so basically, inhaling and exhaling as you are in the instruction, and on the third inhalation, exhalation starts in the form of Kapalbhati, right? So just sit in any comfortable posture, relax, keep the eyes closed, take a deep breath out. Again, deep breath in, deep breath out. Now, in the third breath, we'll begin deep breath in and begin to contract your abdominal muscles. Your goal is to touch the navel, like bring the navel as close to the spine as possible. Okay, so I'll go for a slightly slow stroke in the beginning. So you guys can also choose to adopt this. Okay. So in the last stroke, you exhale fully. You exhale out all the air from the body, and then you allow your body to breathe. So for some of you, you might not feel like breathing after Kapalbhati. Some of you, you will instantly, inhale, right? So whatever pace your body is taking after Kapalbhati, you have to allow the body to breathe at its own pace. Okay, and in the last exhalation, it has to be forceful, right? So that all the air is expelled out from the body. So generally, you would have seen a very fast demonstration of Kapalbhati, but you can also choose to adopt this pace, right? If you want to go for a faster pace, again, you can do that. So one time I will demonstrate that also. If you guys feel ready for it, you guys can go ahead and do it. Okay. Okay. this also you can do if you are comfortable with it. But your main point of focus is, so when I'm going for a faster pace, again, the movement of my abdominal region is remaining the same, right? So the navel, the effort is to bring the navel as close to the spine as possible. So what people generally, also another mistake that people make is, because they want to go for a fast practice, the contraction to the abdomen is not as much as it should be. Okay. So again, you have to avoid this thing. When you begin, go at your own pace, go slowly. And eventually you will, like, with progress, you will reach that stage where you will be able to go fast and the contraction in the abdomen will be of the same level. Okay. Any doubts so far in the technique, how you have to do it, or uh, any specific thing? Okay. Okay. So guys, again, take care of your lower back. It might be possible. And if you develop pain after today's class in your lower back, means that you have to take more care. Okay. So now who should not? Uh,
Ma'am, I just have one doubt. So if there is a person who is just starting to begin these practices of pranayama, then what is the minimum number of round or repetition which we can advise to that person for Kapalbhati?
For Kapalbhati, minimum for a beginner, 10 to 20 rounds are good enough. Okay, anywhere between 10 to 20 rounds. But again, don't try to limit the person with just the count. Okay, slowly, like initially, I will tell you other things also that happen after Kapalbhati, but slowly, the pace will pick up. Okay, so like some people, in one round only they go for 100 strokes. So that is too much for a beginner. Okay, anywhere between 10 to 20 rounds is good enough.
Okay, thank you.
So now other things that happen after Kapalbhati, one thing is dizziness. Okay, and even while you are practicing it, dizziness might occur, right? So suppose right now I said anywhere between 10 to 20 rounds, right? So for some people in these 10 to 20 rounds, before you finish the 20 rounds, dizziness will begin to occur. Suspend the practice. Okay, completely suspend the practice. If you're feeling uncomfortable, suspend the practice. If there is pain in the abdomen, again, suspend the practice completely. So even though your given metric will act as a standard for your student, there might be cases where before they reach that number, they might feel uncomfortable. So they have to suspend the practice, they have to take deep breaths, and when they feel ready, they can begin the practice again, but more consciously and at a slower pace. Okay, so next time when they go, ask them to go at a like reduced pace. As you begin to increase your practice, of course you can go up till 50, 100 strokes, but again, don't go for 100 or 50 strokes if you cannot maintain your pace. The like this is laying the foundation. Okay, so all the things that I have said you, they will determine the quality or the result you will get out of your practice. So if you want to run fast, you can run fast, but then it will not benefit you. Okay, so now Kapalbhati, again, even though it is not a pranayam practice, this is a very different practice. So not everybody can go for this practice. Okay, heart patients, they cannot go for this practice at all. Right. Okay, high BP, again, they have to avoid. Stroke, they have to avoid. Gastric ulcers, they have to avoid. In case of hernia also, they have to avoid. Vertigo, if somebody has vertigo, again, this practice, will cause them a lot of dizziness. So they cannot go for this practice. During menstruation, this practice has to be avoided completely. And if somebody has, pitta, so this practice overall, after you complete this practice, the body temperature goes up. Okay, so any pith related issue if somebody has, then try to, because if they are like looking for therapy especially, then Kapal Bhati should not be incorporated. So before this, all the practices that you have done, they can be given to most people, but from now onwards, so we will step into pranayam practices also, right, in the coming days, right? So not everybody can do the pranayam practices, right? So from now onwards, a lot of like contraindications will be there. Okay. So any doubts in the practice? No. So I think we can practice. I'll tell you a few benefits. Okay, yeah. So Kapalbhati, first thing, it is used for the cleansing of this entire region, right? So the forehead region, it gets cleansed. If somebody has any kind of excess mucus, right, then it will get expelled with this practice. Okay, when you go for forceful exhalation, so all the mucus or cough that is there, it gets expelled from the body. Yeah. Overall, if you see physically, then again, your abdomen is being utilized. So your abdominal muscles, they will get stronger as you deepen your practice. So the strengthening of the core takes place with Kapalbhati, right? All your abdominal organs are stimulated because of this practice, and it also improves the digestion. Again, because it is associated with the forehead region, there's a lot of mental clarity and calmness that sets in after you do this practice. So all the things related to the mind, mental clarity, peace of mind, your decision making, planning, everything, consequently, all of these things are impacted because of the practice of Kapalbhati. And even on, if you look at the spiritual level, then there is a very important energy point, which is, um, uh, like between both your eyebrows, right? The eyebrow center. So that energy center, again, it gets a lot of activation, right? So it's a very good practice for spiritual advancement as well. If you are planning to sit normally only when you do this practice, not keep your palms down, so you can go for like either joining the tips of the thumb and index finger together, and the remaining three fingers, they, I will elaborate more on these mudras when I cover mudras, but just for now, just for basic understanding, you form the chin mudra, so palms can face upwards, or a very good mudra for Kapalbhati especially is the Vayu mudra. So use the index finger on the root of the thumb, right? And you place your hands, palms facing upwards again on your knees, right? So any doubts before we start our practice? All right. Okay. Oh, great. So we'll go for a few preparatory practices first, and then we will do the practice of Kapalbhati. So wherever you are, sit comfortably. Keep your back and neck straight. And when you feel ready, very gently Close your eyes. Begin to observe your breath. Follow your breathing. Shift the attention to the posture. Try to keep your posture aligned, and your body should be comfortable and stable throughout the practice. Slowly come back to your breath and try to deepen your breathing. Prepare yourself for the practice of abdominal breathing. We'll just take some time to prepare our breath first. Exhale fully. As you begin to inhale, begin to expand the abdomen. As you exhale, contract the abdomen. Follow the same pattern. Allow your breath to become slow, long, and deep. Three more breaths and then suspend your practice. Keeping your back and neck straight. Simply observe the natural flow of your breath and connect with the impact of the abdominal breathing. Keeping the back and neck straight. Right now, if you feel a need to change your posture, please do so before we enter into our next practice. We will go for yogic deep breathing. Exhale fully. As you begin to inhale, expand your abdomen. Expand the chest and feel the collarbones rise as you complete your inhalation. As you exhale, first the collarbones go back down, chest goes in, and then contract your abdomen properly to expel out all the air from the body. Keep continuing this practice, gaining more control over your breath as you proceed in the practice. Complete one last breath of yogic deep breathing and then come back to your natural breath. Keeping the back and neck straight, simply observe the impact of the practice. Before we enter our final practice, the practice of Kapalbhati, if you feel the need, you can choose to change your posture or adjust your posture. If you feel the need, you can place your palms downwards on your knees, shift a little bit forward. Just make sure that your lower back remains straight. We'll go for 3 breaths, 2 full breaths, and we'll begin the practice with the exhalation of the third breath. Take a deep inhalation. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. With the exhalation, begin your practice. Contract your abdomen and expel out the air from the body. Go for 15 to 20 strokes as is comfortable for you. Try to go for slower strokes, maintaining the uniformity in your practice. On your last breath, expel out all the air from the body. If you have the palms facing downwards on your knees, you can tilt a little bit back after completing your practice. Just observe your breath and your mind. Allow the body to breathe as it wants to breathe. Finish your practice with back and neck straight. Keep the attention on the abdomen or the area between both your eyebrows. We will practice one more round, keeping the back and neck straight. Prepare yourselves for the second round. Anywhere between 15 to 20 strokes can be done. Relax yourself and begin to inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Begin your practice with the exhalation. Active exhalations, passive inhalations. Contract your abdomen properly. The target is to touch the abdomen or bring it as close to the spine as possible. On your last exhalation, expel all air from the body. Keeping the spine straight. Simply observe the impact of the practice. Keep the attention focused on the abdomen, on the area between both your eyebrows. We will end today's session with one Om chanting, followed by 3 Shantis. If you feel the need, you can adjust your posture before we do the chanting. Keeping the back and neck straight. Take a deep inhalation for Om. Shanti. 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 Join the palms together, gently bow down. We'll just take some time in our day for a sense of gratitude. Begin to rub your palms together. Your palms on your eyes. We will do this 2 more times. Rub your palms together. Put them on the eyes. Last time. Rub the palms together. Keep them on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes. Come back with a big smile. 21. Guys, any doubts, any problems you face during your practice? Any issue? I can't hear you. You are on mute.
Sorry. Ma'am, sometimes during exhalation, I could feel that I'm inhaling also.
Okay.
So that was happening.
So the inhalation is going to happen on its own. You are not going to apply any force during the inhalation, right? Your focus is on the exhalation only, right? So slowly. So of course your body is inhaling also, right? But your focus is not. Your body is inhaling on its own, right? Your focus is on the exhalation part only, and try to keep your attention on your abdomen when you do this practice, so it will help you to engage more. So you will basically become more aware of the exhalation and the portion where the you know maybe sometimes, when we reverse the process, there is this constant thing in our mind. Are we inhaling? Are we inhaling? This thing remains on the mind, right? So that is why the mind, it begins to, see that, okay, I'm inhaling. But there is no conscious effort that you're putting in during that exhalation, right? So that is the main point that you have to take care of when you do Kapalbhati. Okay.
Also, ma'am, is it okay to keep one hand on the abdomen when we are exhaling, just for the initial phases?
See, there is no issue with that, but Kapalbhati, the exhalation is so forceful that you will be
Hmm.
aware that you are exhaling. There is no
Okay.
chance to miss it. Like in
Because with
abdominal,
me, what was happening, I was exhaling and then suddenly I was, inhaling also on the spot. So I was stopping myself consciously, okay, I don't have to do this.
so if the inhalation, so exhalation, when you are exhaling, there is conscious effort. No, but if you are applying pressure during inhalation, so if the sound after the exhalation is right, so means you are putting an effort for the inhalation, right? So this is not correct. You have to come out of this thing. If this is happening for you, keep practicing and go for slower strokes. Okay, so when you go for slower strokes, then you understand the process of how the inhalation becomes like passive, right? So right now, because we are completely reversing the process, right now it's complete opposite. So slowly your body will adjust with this. Okay, even if today it was like it wasn't able to, like you weren't able to get that control, tomorrow if we have time we will practice again. So at that point of time try to improve, right? Then check in once again if you feel that still it is continuing. Yes.
Okay,
I
ma'am,
had
thank you.
I had like two struggles. The first one was like it was not a good idea to drink half a liter of tea before. And the other, I got a bit struggles in which way I have to push the navel to the spine and in which the opposite, so for me, it's natural when I breathe in that then I push the navel to the spine. And I know it's wrong, but yeah, I was confusing about that sometimes.
So I think you missed a few classes in between. So when I taught abdominal breathing, I told this
No,
thing.
I do them. I do them on YouTube. So
Oh, okay. So I think in the class of abdominal breathing only, I told this thing that ideally the navel should move and the abdomen should move out when you inhale, and
yeah,
the navel should go in and abdomen should also go in when you exhale. So your the reverse process is happening. Why? Because you are doing chest breathing. So when I breathe through the chest, then when I inhale, so my diaphragm, it moves up, right? And abdomen moves in, right? And when I exhale, then my diaphragm goes down, abdomen goes down, right? So this means you are doing chest breathing. But
yeah.
in Kapalbhati, your entire attention is focused on the abdomen. All right. So it's similar to abdominal breathing. You are making the exhalations active when you go for this practice. That's the difference, right?
Yeah, I
So
tried to make it slowlier and then it works. But before I was too hectic and then didn't work.
So go, that is why I told you guys in the beginning, go as slow as possible. Discover your pace, because if you are getting too slow, again, you will, increase your pace on your own. You will not even realize your body, it will in itself make the adjustment if you start slow. But if you start fast, you will never know the intensity that the practice should have, because you're constantly focused on the number, right? How many times or how many rounds you should complete in this set of time. So go slowly. Eventually, this is going to form the base of your practice. So faster strokes will happen on their own. Okay. And of course, you have to keep your stomach empty. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Any other doubts that I can take? All right, great. So, okay, guys, enjoy the rest of your classes. I will see all of you tomorrow. Take care and bye bye.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, bye bye.